So, folks, we got to talk about the fact that today, the Supreme Court of the United States finally, after sticking around for the past year and some change, finally handed down a decision about the tariffs that Donald Trump has been unilaterally placing on basically every country on the face of the earth for no reason, just whatever he feels like on any given day. And finally, the Supreme Court said, yeah, this does really seem illegal because it is blatantly unconstitutional in so many different ways. Like, just, it is specifically not constitutional. It is not a power given to the president. Like, it's just the Supreme Court. What is pissing me off at the moment, right before I went live, I saw a bunch of think pieces essentially patting the Supreme Court on the back for their decision. And I gotta say, while the decision is good, it's really deeply frustrating to see like the mainstream media like seal clapping the Supreme Court for doing genuinely so much less than the minimum. So much less than the minimum, you know? Like where we're at right now, a competent Supreme Court would have upheld every single stay lower courts had placed against these tariffs. Like, if the Supreme Court were functional, this never would have gotten to the Supreme Court in the first place. They just would have been like, yeah, no, those lower court orders stay the tariffs, and you're out of luck. But because they didn't do that, and they just kind of, circle jerked on it, we've had to wait for like a year and a half while this guy just goes out in front of the world and says, hey, you know what? These tariffs are great. They're the best thing since sliced bread. And you know what? Boy, howdy. What if we had just a 125% tariff on Chinese goods? Hey, wouldn't that be great? And I just have to say, no! Everyone knew it would not, in fact, be great. And now we know it was not, in fact, great, because guess what? Americans pay those tariffs, you ding-dongs. Every single time Donald Trump gets up in front of the country and says, hey, guess what? We are making so much money off of these tariffs. That's not being paid by other countries. That's being paid by us. It's being paid by American companies, and then those companies, because they want to be profitable, pass those costs on to you, the consumer. And oftentimes, that goes through several different stages, which eventually means that consumers are paying way more than just the one price hike from the tariff. It is actually terrible, okay? And not only that, I can't believe that this is just not constantly reported in mainstream media. USA Today had to be the one that goes out and be like, yeah, there's a recent study and it said that American consumers and companies paid 90% of the cost of the tariffs. So anytime he's like, yeah, we made $100 billion off of tariffs, $90 billion of that was from us, you stupid dipshits. I don't mean you guys, but I mean like all of Donald Trump's supporters who think this is the greatest thing. You guys are the ones paying the tariffs. You're getting screwed over, and you're congratulating him for it. Please, sir, can I have some more boot leather? I'm desperately hungry and need to feed my family, and we need to boil it. It's so infuriating. And it's taken us over a year to get to the point where the Supreme Court of the United States said, I guess we have to do something. And earlier today, they essentially said, and by the way, not unanimously, 3 conservative justices opposed the decision. And, but the majority of the court said, no, the president can't have unilateral tariff powers that are unrestrained. So we get a scaling back of the tariff powers, right? However, it does not strip Donald Trump of his ability to levy tariffs at all, which means that essentially a bunch of people behind closed doors prior to him going out and doing a press conference today clearly briefed him and wrote down a number of different ways that Donald Trump could continue these tariffs. And essentially, there are two ways. One, he can levy like a global tariff, which he has done, of around 10%, just on all goods everywhere, 10%. And that's a 10% tax on all of us, by the way, just as an FYI. And the other way is by using a never-before-used provision from the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which essentially, for those of you who don't know, Smoot-Hawley is like one of the most infamous pieces of legislation. It was passed during the Depression and is largely credited by historians and economists as being a factor in the length and duration of the Depression. Smoot-Hawley. I think I'm saying that right. Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Cool. Of 1930. And the provision that he wants to rely on has never been used before, but it would allow him to retaliate against companies outside the United States that are deemed nebulously to be discriminating against American businesses. Essentially, this has been never used before because it's a bad idea, but it would allow him to levy tariffs about like 50% against targeted companies. And it's going to be a real shit show in the immediate future, I'm afraid to say, because it seems like he's going to do that. They didn't bother to repeal that Tariff Act. No, because it was so unpopular that people were like, well, no dipshit would ever use this. And now we've found the dipshit. We've found the guy. We found the guy who looked at the worst piece of economic legislation from the Great Depression and said, what if we did that? What if we did that? You know that thing that all of these economists are saying prolonged the Great Depression? What if we did that in 2026? What's the worst that could happen? Like, it's genuinely, like, God, the movies they're gonna make about this time period, they better be funny as fuck, because it's funny as hell right now, and I know that because I either have to laugh or cry, and I choose to laugh. As a little bit of background for what happened earlier today, apparently, after the Supreme Court issued their ruling, why didn't Congress repeal it a long time ago? For the same reason that a lot of your neighborhoods may still have, like, whites-only ordinances on the books, okay? Like, it's because in a lot of cases, like, future legislation superseded them, or simply they became non-enforced. And, like, in a similar sense, it's kind of like there's a lot of legislation on the books in America that just isn't enforced anymore or isn't utilized. And this is one of those things where they were like, no sane person would ever use this again. And, well, we just don't have a sane person in power right now. Yeah, zombie laws. Exactly, Superjet guy. After the Supreme Court issued their ruling earlier today, apparently Donald Trump was in a meeting with the governors, and according to a reporter that was there, he was handed a note from an aide informing him of the Supreme Court decision. Trump was visibly frustrated and told the crowd that he had to do something about the courts, the source said. That's cool. I would expect two things going forward. Well, three things. Number one, Donald Trump is going to be extremely salty about the Supreme Court. Like, extremely, extremely salty. And number two, he's going to be trying to pass way more tariffs along these little-used lines, like the Smoot-Hawley Act. And number three, I would expect him to just get even more unstable. Because this is essentially, will he expand the court? I don't think he's got the votes to do it, to be honest with you. You know, I don't think I think he has lost a significant amount of support in Congress. This is basically a colossal slap in his face because he's made tariffs his thing. This is his thing. And I think you'll see in this press conference here exactly how fucking pissed he is. So let's check it out.
Hello, everybody. Wow, that's a lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time.
Okay, I I do have to say this is an incredibly funny press conference. All right, number one, just of course his first knee-jerk response to walking into that room is like, "Wow, we've hit a record number of reporters in this room. Never before has this room been so full of reporters."
Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud.
What's with the weird lighting? It's not weird lighting. His skin is just off. You know, like the lighting isn't wrong. His pallid demeanor is coming through even a thick layer of makeup. Cause, you know, you guys know that my theory is that he's dying. You already know that. Like, his skin is sloughing off, okay? Like, it's trying to escape his corporeal flesh.
Out of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I listened to this while I was working out earlier today, and I did laugh so hard I almost fell off my elliptical several times, okay? When you read the when you read the opinions, there's that agree with me, there's no way you could argue against it. Except, you know, maybe with the opinions that dominated the case, that won the case. You know? Like, yeah, if you read the dissenting opinions and you're like, there's no way they could argue against that, I think there might be. I think that the dissent might be presenting one argument, and there might be another argument released by some of the other judges somewhere else.
No way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you.
Who's dancing? Like, okay, this is how I know his brain is going, by the way. Because Donald Trump, one of his original lies after 9/11 was seeing people dancing in the streets celebrating the, like, destruction of the Twin Towers. And his brain is literally melting out of his ears because he's still continuing to say the same lie about anything he doesn't like. It's genuinely crazy.
The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court, and it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do...
I love this meltdown.
Heck yeah, Chris Huggins. Thank you for the membership. But he starts getting real weird, okay? It's almost like he's like, I'm mad and disappointed in the liberal justices, in the left-wing justices, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do. But these other conservative traitors, like, you can watch him like start to dip into some venom here, and I think it's really, really, really telling where his attack is aimed at here.
With voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
Yeah, the Constitution, the document that restrains the powers of the president, specifically. Interesting.
It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small...
Yeah, so this begins to set the stage for where you're gonna hear him go here. A small but very powerful political force in America has corrupted the rhinos on the Supreme Court. Hey, chat, just just if you had to throw a wild guess out there, which small movement do you think that he is talking about? Which small group of people do you think he's alleging swung the election? It's the Jews. He doesn't ever say the Jews in this speech, but like, if you're a Republican and you're a conservative, you know exactly which direction he's gesturing at. It's the same direction that a bunch of people in the MAGA movement are currently gesturing. Will he expand the court or try to disband the court? I don't think he can do either. I don't think he has the votes in Congress, especially going into the midterms.
Movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it, but we still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious.
Again, there's no relation between what's happening with the Supreme Court and his election at the moment.
Obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security, and also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities, as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything, I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court.
One, he is all over the place on this.
I still think Trump croaks before the end of the year. My money's on May or June sometime.
Yeah, but Grackled, he does not seem like he's got a whole lot of vim in his vigor, you know what I'm saying? Thank you for the $5 super chat, and I agree with you. If I had to project, a future. But, like, he's wandering all over the place, right? Like, he's talking about, like let's just play back the last, 30 seconds, right?
I didn't want to be very tariffs available, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And
so he's like, well, Yeah, I'm really, really disappointed in the Supreme Court justices because they have done a disservice by attacking me and my powers and constraining me and being afraid to do the right thing for our country. But now I have even stronger and better tariff powers. So there's really nothing to worry about. Pick a lane. Are you mad? Or have you been handed even greater power? The reality is that he's mad, but he's trying to, save face. That's what's happening here. And so he's already contradicted himself. He's like a minute into talking.
In actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything, I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court.
And then he's like, well, and then I didn't ask much in tariff percentages from other countries because I didn't want to affect how the Supreme Court would rule on this case. Except if you look back at Donald Trump talking about tariffs, he has been giving non-stop speeches and posts on social media specifically geared towards the Supreme Court and trying to weight the outcome towards the favorable outcome towards him. And also, oh, you were on your best behavior? You tried to levy, in some cases, tariffs of over 100%. You just straight up got up at 2:00 in the morning one time and were like, what if we put 75% tariffs on furniture from IKEA? You were not on your best behavior, number one. Number two, even if you were on your best behavior vis-a-vis the asks you're making from other countries, how would that at all have changed the Supreme Court ruling? The ruling has nothing to do with, oh, well, it's, you were doing such a big ask of these countries, we have to constrain your powers now. No, the ruling is on the principle and on the letter of the law, the letter of the constitutionality of the law, right? And he knows that because I've watched this already. Later on, he talks about not being able to charge even $1 in tariffs. He knows that already. He's just already completely lost the plot.
Because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 70.
God, can someone make the meme of the dog going to heaven? And it's was I a good boy? And the Grim Reaper's you were the best. You know what to do.
Broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do.
Again, just as an FYI, the tariffs aren't going to be reflected in the Dow ticker, largely because, again, the current stock market is held up entirely by the Magnificent Seven, a handful of AI companies that are getting infusions of hundreds of billions of dollars in venture capital. It is not reflective of how the country is doing at all at the moment.
Within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years, we did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not.
He's so gone, guys. I settled 5 of the 8 wars. I've settled 8 wars, you know. Like, it's... like, oh my god. Oh my god. Number go up in real time. I just... Soup brain syndrome has got him by the balls.
Including 5 of the 8 tariffs have likewise been used to end.
They said it was the most impossible thing of all time, that not even God could do it. But President Donald Jeffrey Epps Trump did it.
Not smart. Thank you for the $5 dono. God, I know that this is very serious, and this man has the ability to ruin, like, all of our lives, but, like, this is very funny. Also, okay, I'm gonna back this up one last time, and we're gonna listen to this.
So, tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear.
Tariffs have been used to end 5 of the 8 wars. I ended 8 wars, you know. Like, how did tariffs play any role in that whatsoever? This is the first time I have heard him claim that his tariff strategy ended wars. And that would be especially strange considering Americans pay 90% of the tariff costs.
Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said...
Oh, the Peace Board, the one where you talked about how you weren't gay and then you fell asleep? That Peace Board meeting? Cool.
Yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things. But they've given us great national security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a...
I'm sorry, just real quick, real quick, again.
National security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use...
Why would tariffs have any role in reducing fentanyl coming into the country? Unless, and I'm just throwing this out there, US hospitals were already legally purchasing fentanyl for its FDA-approved usage in all hospitals in the United States. God, he never talks about that. A lot of people just don't talk about it. It's just been taken as a given that, like, fentanyl, oh, it's an illegal drug. No, it's FDA-approved. It is literally in every single hospital in the country. If he's just like, yeah, we put a tariff on painkillers entering the country, like, I guess, yeah, maybe you technically did reduce fentanyl coming into the country, but like that, in this case, that would be a bad thing because it would mean hospitals aren't getting the painkillers they need for their patients.
Them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country to poison our youth. All of those tariffs remain.
Oh, good. We're getting all the great hits. The foreign nations are poisoning the youth of America line. Cool. Yeah. Let's crib a little bit from Hitler while we're at it.
They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people.
Again, it's so dense with stupidity.
Know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect.
So he's saying all of our tariffs are going to remain in effect. So in effect, like, okay, so if all of the tariffs are remaining and nothing's changing, then why are you having a press conference about it? If it's such a total big deal to you, why are you coming out looking like you just saw a ghost?
Respect for them anyway, but such great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected.
The Supreme Court of the United States, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. I'm actually a justice now. My name's Donald Trump. I'm a Supreme Court justice.
Alternatives. Great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money. Can't charge $1 to any country under IEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries, certainly not the United States of America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting.
Ah, yes, you know, all of those Supreme Court justices that are disloyal to our country. Like, it's deeply troubling that the President of the United States is directly attacking his own Supreme Court that has supported him on, like, I don't know, 95% of the issues.
But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1.
Yeah, this is where we're going, like, full on. This is his, like, this is his extinction burst, you know? Like, he's just going out there and being like, I can do anything. I can destroy any country. I can destroy our own country. I can destroy your country. I can destroy their country. I can destroy all the countries. This is like the meltdown from, like, Downfall. You know, we're like in the bunker now.
Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little 2-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that. It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been.
I am very not mad. You better make sure your paper's all right about how not mad I am as I turn into a corn cob. Okay? Because we have perfectly good alternatives at home. We have unilateral tariff authority at home. We don't need to stop at McDonald's.
Approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision for those that thought they had us. And they're saying that I have the absolute right to license.
What we're seeing right now is the Hindenburg if it was filled with copium.
But not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right to license, which is a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with...
Like, he just keeps going like, you know, in many ways, this other power, the power to issue licenses, it's way more powerful than tariffs anyway. What are tariffs? I don't know. I've moved on from tariffs. We broke up last week. What I don't even remember Tariff's name anymore.
The idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Whoever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been...
Whoever heard of such a thing? Constraints on the president's authority? What? You mean I can't just do whatever I want? This is bullshit! I've never read the Constitution, but I assume it's in favor of tyranny.
Issued without the right to charge a fee. You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country,
to be clear, the court didn't give him the right. He already had the right to use these other mechanisms at his disposal that are stupid and inexplicably still on the books in a lot of cases, but they are there. But I gotta level with you guys. In a lot of these cases, it will also require congressional approval. There are a handful of carve-outs where the president can, for example, levy a 10% tax on anything coming into the country for the next 150 days. A lot of the other things require congressional approval, and he's just not gonna get it. Because we're going into the midterms, and folks, the Republican coalition does not have his back. They got their own backs, you know?
Destroy foreign countries, but a much more powerful right than many people ever thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy.
Just...
right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries, but a much more powerful right than many people ever...
To be clear, the president also doesn't have the right to destroy foreign countries, because that implies going to war with foreign countries, and the president also doesn't have the authority to unilaterally levy war on another country.
thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy is that? Our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now.
It's so sexy.
And it was a dead country 1.5 years ago under
Have you seen that American flag? It's so slutty.
An incompetent president. But now I'm going to go in a different direction. Probably the direction that I should have gone the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%.
I don't believe him. I don't believe that he's good at reading language. I don't think he's good at that at all. You know, there have been reports that he requires any reports that are sent to him to be essentially full of pictures, you know? Megan H, thank you for being a member. His complexion is giving OG Oblivion vampire. It is. He looks like an Oblivion character creator. Oh no.
But now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice.
Yeah, I'm not mad at all. Put it in the papers that I'm not mad, because we are actually doing something even stronger than tariffs. We're doing super tariffs now.
As Justice Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so up, you have to see. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, Justice Kavanaugh, doomed to live forever in infamy as the creator of the Kavanaugh Stop. The ability of federal officers to racially discriminate against Americans.
Wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding
the
today,
one who likes beer, yeah.
The decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. So, think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't, he's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging. So I'm going to just start. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding.
I'm just going to start. I firmly disagree. Like, come on, man.
Holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs.
Numerous other federal statutes, which is so true. Why are you talking like this? Why are you talking like a tween-age girl? Why are you doing this? Like, are you about to start talking some shit about Jessica from science class? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Tariffs, and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs.
Oh, he definitely had a series of mini strokes, Ms. Tab. 100%.
Issues
like his face was slooping, you know.
In this case, even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade...
No, you don't, you lying bastard. Stop. No, you don't. All of these things, I know them so well. I have a copy of the 1962 Act on my wall. I looked at it every night as a child growing up. It's some of the best things I've ever seen in my life. When it was passed, I committed all of it to memory. Every night, like Arya Stark, I chanted the words from that statute.
Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301, and the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear. But it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple, but they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kavanaugh for frankly, his genius and his...
I'm guessing, I have not read Kavanaugh's dissent. I'm guessing that Kavanaugh laid out a bunch of other ways that Donald Trump could attempt to levy tariffs. And Trump is just like, you're so genius, you're so right, King. And then he's just going to do those. Or attempt to do those, you know? Oh, God.
His great ability. Very proud of.
Oh, also to kind of go over these alternatives. So what he's talking about here, Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, which essentially is unlimited in the size and scope of a tariff that can be imposed. However, they expire 4 years after being implemented. And Donald Trump did, in fact, use Section 301 last time he was president. And essentially, there has to be a grounds for unjustifiable, unreasonable, or discriminatory trade practices. Now, I'm unsure if that can be done unilaterally by the president, but that's one of the ways. Oh yeah, no, actually, first, this is kind of the issue, right? So Section 301, I'm just looking at a brief summary here, requires that the administration have a trade representative conduct an investigation that is thorough and comprehensive, and then there needs to be a public hearing before the 301 tariffs are imposed. And essentially, it's a lot of government manpower. And if Donald Trump wants to replace all of the tariffs that he has right now with Section 301 tariffs, essentially it would take a massive, massive amount of government resources in order to do these investigations and make the case for the 301 tariffs, because it can't just be half-assed. It can't just be, I decided a 301 tariff today, you know? Second of all, you have the Trade Act of 1974, Section 122. Allows the president to impose tariffs up to 15% for 150 days in response to unbalanced trade. And so that is limited in a bit. That's limited a bit, right? Because Congress has given Donald Trump the ability to use Section 122 tariff authority. However, it's legally never been used with tariffs in mind. So it is especially vulnerable to legal challenge. Then you have Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, which allows the president to tariff countries that are deemed a threat to national security, which, again, he did this back in his first term as well. Again, one of Biden's big failures was essentially leaving a lot of the tariffs that Donald Trump put in place prior to Biden stepping in. So the issue with Section 232 is that, much like the other one, the U.S. Commerce Department has to launch an investigation, and it's, again, a lengthy process, and it would, again, part of the problem that is being run into here, right, is that they can't afford a lengthy process because it's midterm year. And Republicans really don't want Donald Trump, like a month or two before the midterms, to be dropping like 24 different tariffs on, allies for bullshit reasons, And essentially, Republicans are going to be panicking about this if Donald Trump does pursue these methods, because it's essentially lighting a time bomb that's going to go off right before they have to get elected. How? Because the trade is unbalanced, because it's not happening. I mean, again, a lot of this is they're going to have to do a lot of investigating in order to try and make their case. It's going to be really difficult for them. It's an uphill fight. And then the last, but certainly not least, is Section 338 of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, right? And these types of tariffs have literally never been imposed before, and it's essentially no investigation is required, and there's no limit on how long the tariffs can stay in place, but it has to be provable, because eventually this is going to be challenged in court. It has to be provable that those countries discriminated against U.S. businesses. That if they try and half-ass it, these tariffs are going to be knocked down. Now, those tariffs under Section 338 can be up to 50%, right? The Smoot-Hawley Act. But basically, the Smoot-Hawley Act is one of those things that has been left on the books because no sane person would really use them, because it's... The Smoot-Hawley Act is one of those things that's largely credited with extending the Great Depression. You don't typically want to use that. You don't want to use one of the most infamous pieces of legislation ever in order to do your tariffs, right? And Smoot-Hawley became a laughingstock. It's been mocked roundly for like the last century, But these are the options that Donald Trump is examining here. When he's talking about these other options, that's what he's talking about. None of them are particularly good, and are almost certainly going to backfire in a pretty big way should he attempt them. And he is going to attempt them, just as an FYI. Hoi Polloi, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the show. All right, back to this. We're almost done, I think.
That appointment. In actuality, why?
Yes, actually, YouTube. Ferris Bueller has a joke at the expense of the Smoot-Hawley Act in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah.
While I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't. It's terrible.
Yeah, no. I'm not hurt, Doug. I'm not hurt. Look, I know it looks like blood is coming out of my abdomen right now, but I swear I'm not hurt. I feel better than I ever have. You want to see me do 10 sit-ups? I can do them right now. Here. Oh God! It's totally fine. No, I'm in the best shape of my life. If I flex hard enough, the bullet hole closes up. See? I'm not hurt, dog.
And to think that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way, they'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they would be better off if they did it. They want to
I do love this section of his speech where he's just like, Democrats really should pack the court. You know, Democrats really should, make sure that conservatives on the court never have a voice again. They should do it. They should do that. And like, yes, we should. We absolutely should do that. He is correct on that one.
Pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our companies.
I know there's a chunk out of my arm, but I definitely wasn't bitten by those zombies.
No, sir, I bit my own arm. I just love biting my arm. It's my favorite thing. I recreationally bite my arm. I actually went to the Summer Olympics for arm biting. It's crazy, I know. Very unknown sport, but it's there. It's there. You just have to go to the top of the alphabetical order of events, and you'll find me in the 2017 Summer Games.
In country will actually increase because of this decision. I don't think the court meant that, but it's the way it is.
Also, again, if somehow you're a conservative and you're watching my content, number one, hats off to you, good job. Number two, like, are you really buy this? You really buy that, like, this guy's just like a master negotiator and he's like, well, now I have to put even higher tariffs on all of these countries. Why would you have to do that? If this is all part of your master tradescraft plan, where you're wheeling and dealing and making super beneficial deals for the American people on the multinational level, why would you have to hike tariffs against those other countries because of something the Supreme Court did? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense unless it was never really about negotiating any deals in the first place.
Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories.
Nick Fuentes wants the Republican Party to implode so that he can pick up a greater market share and build his own little Nazi party out of the ashes. That is what he wants.
And even, as I was pointed out before, even thousands of victories over the years. To the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs.
Yeah, specifically your use. Specifically the way you were using them, yes. They did not say tariffs themselves were illegal, because they're not. Just that you were going fucking nuts with them, bro.
And essentially, it's used to get a fee. I can do anything I want with IEEPA. Anything. I just can't charge anybody for it. I can license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEEPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because, there were a lot of questions about tariffs because no president was smart enough to use them to protect our country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
Yeah, because of what the Supreme Court did, we have to charge every other nation on Earth more. That's That's the case. And by the way, by every other nation on earth, I mean, I'm going to be charging the American people more money because of the Supreme Court telling me I can't tariff in the way that I was doing. I'm going to be charging the American people an even higher arbitrary tax because I am Donald Trump. God. I genuinely wish more people, like if more people understood exactly what a tariff is, if mainstream media like did not shut up about the fact that a tariff by Donald Trump is a tax on the American people, they should be saying that every single time tariffs come up, which is all the time because of Donald Trump. If every single American knew that tariffs were taxes levied by the president against us, he would be gone. He wouldn't be president anymore. He is openly saying, hey, guess what? I'm putting even bigger taxes on everyone in America just to spite you. Out of spite. Not out of necessity, not out of any grander vision, not to build industry, not to reshore jobs, not to do anything like that. It's just out of goddamn spite because he hates you for being poor. The fact that he is just like shit talking the Supreme Court, I think that's kind of a good sign, you know? It's a good sign. He's a wounded animal at this point. And Lady Ringcloud, so he's not technically defying the Supreme Court of the United States. What he's doing is taking Brett Kavanaugh's dissent, which lays out a number of different ways he could potentially get around this particular SCOTUS ruling, and he's saying, yeah, let's do all of those. Let's do all of those at the same time. Like, that's what he's doing. Like, he's basically being like, I'll comply with this, but you're all wrong and stupid, and I hate you. And we're going to dig up every single alternative method for us to get as much tariffs put on America as possible. And part of the reasoning for that, by the way, is that, do you guys remember when he passed the big, beautiful bill? You know, the one that stripped like $1 trillion out of Medicaid, the one that gave ICE effectively infinite funding? Well, part of the problem is, in order to make the argument for those tax cuts, Donald Trump was projecting just obscene amounts of money generated by tariffs. And that money has not materialized. Like, sure, tariffs have generated a certain amount of money, but that money is not significant enough to replace the money that was lost by the expenditures. And it was never going to happen, but part of why he's freaking out is because he was really banking on it happening. Like, all of these guys, like Donald Trump in particular, is high on his own supply. Like, he genuinely believes the crazy nonsense he's spewing, you know? And of course, he's surrounded by liars. It wouldn't surprise me if every single one of the people in the room around him is constantly reaffirming, like, no, the tariffs will absolutely make up for all that lost money.
And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions, you can let us know. But just to end, so we're going forward. We will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and, you know, they're sleazebags, major sleazebags, but I know them, and they're foreign country centric. They were sending things into our country, and the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country, and they were beneficial to other countries, but very, very bad for us. And I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have we have a totally firm decision now, and I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now. And the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in. Yeah, please.
Yeah, see, like, even here, he's like, the numbers could have been far greater if I hadn't been constrained by the thing I was doing. But now I can have even greater numbers of revenue from these tariffs because I'm doing it in even more strong and powerful way, which is why I look so happy about this decision. What? I don't think the court meant it. Yeah, like, it's genuine sundown posting with this clown.
Mr. President, I'm very curious.
Thank you so much.
Dude got off like 2 sentences before he was like, I didn't call on you. That one.
Mr. President, Justice Thomas and Alito, as you know, are the most conservative constitutional justices. Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure they uphold?
I don't know, but they're great justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay.
I hope Donald Trump makes them compete in hunting, like, I don't know, like some kind of survivalist game, like some kind of battle royale, but for federal judges in order to get on the Supreme Court. I hope that's the vetting that he has in mind.
They're healthy. They're great people. They're great, and Justice Alito too. To add to the group, these are great men.
Right.
They're with a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Mr. President, are you going to ask Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
No, I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers, and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday, I was at a steel plant, as you know, and I went to great place, great plant, great, wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press in this room, but a lot of the press right here. We were in Georgia. And I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man. But
I'm not gay, though. Don't report in the papers that I'm gay. But he wanted to kiss me full on the mouth. With tongue, too.
A very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel
that bitch Jessica could never.
business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week. And then you came in and imposed tariffs. And all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. And we're now going to double shifts, 7 days a week. And we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you. But you know what?
Why do you keep saying that? Why? Mr. President, is it okay if we go to second base? I know a great spot over at Makeout Point.
Just to finalize it, he said, oh, this is a great place in Georgia. He said, all up and down the highway. Same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business. And now every one of us are thriving, and we're hiring.
Who's Jessica? She's that bitch from science class. She knows what she did. She couldn't get that big, strong, powerful man to want to smooch her. No. He'd never want to take Jessica to make out point.
People like we haven't, he said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI.
No, they're not. We haven't reshored anything. We haven't reshored a single goddamn factory.
Which is big. but car plants coming in from Canada who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market. They've taken our cars. They manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place because...
Yeah, all of those Subarus being manufactured in Japan. All of those Volkswagens being manufactured in Germany. They're screwing us over by selling us their cars.
Nobody standing in this position, the position I have as president of the United States.
Yeah, they're the world's crimes, selling us the things that we wanted to buy.
States had the insight, the courage, well, I don't know what it is, to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside. You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip. And they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration.
Like, he's going on a rant about Taiwan making semiconductor chips. Like, it's genuinely insane shit. Like, fiddling while Rome burns. His horse is now a console.
And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible. And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, you've done something nobody's ever done. 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession, and you said, no, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country. You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming, and it's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President. You said ahead of this decision that if the Supreme Court...
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
By the way, the governments of the world are going to be so sick of this shit if they have to renegotiate all of their deals all over again less than a year later. Like, holy shit, it is going to be insufferable, both for us here in the United States and for those in countries across the face of the earth. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by...
Like, why can't we do the presidential equivalent of giving Donald Trump, like, a video game controller but not plugging it in? You know, like, why can't we do something like that here?
People that I believe have undue influence, have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, you know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, and Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back at record levels. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I don't talk. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President.
I don't talk to CNN. That's why you're here. Also, like, he's been publicly beefing with, oh God, what's that conservative legal society? Not the John Birch Society. What's it called? God. He's been beefing with... Come on, I know one of you guys knows this. Not the Koch brothers. The Legal Society. The Federalist Society, thank you. He's been beefing publicly with the Federalist Society, and, like, I do think that might be playing a role in, essentially what's happening with the court right now. The Federalist Society essentially helped pick his, Trump judges on the court right now, and he's been openly attacking the head of the Federalist Society over the last several months. And I do think that might be playing a role in how some of the court rulings are going lately. Largely because it helps paint him as effectively a mad king, you know? And the Federalist Society might be in favor of a king, but not a mad king. And that's a big problem for them, I think. Especially not a mad king that's openly beefing with them.
President, yesterday you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time. Right. January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectation, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried?
Wait, none of that's true. The jobs report was utterly and completely terrible. Wait, those were all just lies.
This decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track.
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this, we really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision. But they should have released this a long time ago. We waited months. And that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses...
Oh, yes, Begrackled, I co-sign that. Master Plan by David Sirota is very, very good. Highly recommend.
Almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world, had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more.
You stupid bitch. We buy fentanyl from China. We buy it from them for hospitals.
Than they could make by selling fentanyl. And
like the fentanyl that comes in to the country by and large illegally is either skimmed off of legal shipments of fentanyl or it's being like sent in from like manufactories in Mexico. Like it's not coming from China. There's an entire Pacific Ocean between us. God damn it, he's stupid.
Said, at some point you're going to say, like, and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is our strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way. And we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time. But the end result is going to get us more money. And I think it's going to be great. Yeah, please. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion, and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
I mean, do they really have to discuss the point when they just told you, no, you can't do this, and so you have collected $175 billion from, again, 90% of which is directly our money, the American people's money? And your argument is essentially, well, I mean, they didn't tell us we had to give it back. You know, he's making America great again by robbing you all of $175 billion.
And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very...
Yeah, all these dipshit judges on the Supreme Court.
Basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years.
You know, you don't have to be in court for the next 5 years. You could just say, of course we're giving it back. You know, like you don't in fact have to go to court for the next 5 years and make people fight to get their money back. You could just give it back.
Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them? And do you view this as a potential undermining power for your negotiations?
We're going straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You've claimed that they will pay for them. What happens to
like the farmers. We took care of farmers. You know, the farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to...
Again, just to be clear, he cannot do that unless the money is appropriated by Congress for that purpose. This is just an illegal thing to do. Congress has to appropriate the money.
Out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States.
That's not what happened at all. You just got slapped in the face by the Supreme Court of the United States, and now you're trying to say, well, Brett Kavanaugh in the dissent said that we could do these other things. That's not the Supreme Court signing off on those other things, just as an FYI. Dissents are not binding.
So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs, and we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. He said, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And
I mean, Congress is stepping in at this point to overturn some of the tariff stuff. 2 weeks ago, a week or so ago, Congress stepped up to repeal tariffs that had been levied against Canada. I believe this coming week, there's going to be a vote on preventing Donald Trump from like engaging with war in Iran without the approval of Congress. Stuff like that is going to be happening as we go forward, because again, the closer it gets every single week, the closer it gets to the midterms, Republicans are looking more and more to break with this clown, because he is political poison for them in the midterms, and they all know it.
Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So to the president's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today. It will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he? Doesn't even know. And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariff.
I want someone to ask. I want someone to ask point blank what he thinks a tariff is. I want people to start treating him like the malformed adult he is. You know.
There's several Republicans have said that.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to
push tariffs.
I have
through.
the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress, so there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process, not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress,
down the Canadian tariffs last week. There's been votes in the Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 250.
We lost 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. I have a sneaking suspicion there are going to be a lot more not good Republicans in Congress soon.
Votes.
You need 218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left.
What is a tariff? A tariff is essentially an import fee. So anytime you import something that is tariffed, or from something that is from a place that is tariffed, when it comes into the country, you have to pay an additional fee on that item. And that can be as small as like machinery components, it can be clothing, it can be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a tax. It's a tax that is paid when said object or shipment arrives in the United States. And as you can imagine, most of the people importing things into the United States are American companies. So American companies pay the tariff, and then those companies have to sell those prices with higher costs from the tax that they had to pay, and then all of the middlemen charge more money as well, so that price goes all the way through the production process to, those of us who have to buy the things on the ground, And who knows how many different components might actually wind up being taxed by a tariff. It might be all of them. So a 100% tariff on a number of different components might in fact lead to massively increased costs. Or say like a specialized part breaks in a piece of machinery and you need to replace that piece of machinery before the line can get spun back up and manufacturing can resume. Well, now you have to pay an arm and a leg. You got to pay through the nose for that, because there's like a 100% tariff on machinery from China for who knows why.
people have been destroying. They are destroying our country.
And to be frank, there are reasons why one would tariff, right? And that reason would be to make products that are made outside of a given country more expensive in order to facilitate the growth of a certain industry in your own country, right? So an example might be like solar panels, right? China mass manufactures solar panels to a degree we do not have the industrial capacity to make here in the United States, right? If you wanted to use a tariff effectively, you'd effectively pass a tariff in the United States on Chinese-made solar panels. And then you would provide like incentives and tax rebates, stuff like that, to facilitate the construction of manufacturing in the United States of American solar panels. And then you would maybe subsidize those panels as the factories get up and running to make them as cheap or even cheaper than what could be imported from China, until suddenly you have a large-scale manufacturing capacity that can compete with China, and then you drop the tariffs. That is the intended positive use of tariffs, but that's not what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump is just throwing tariffs out there and doing diddly shit to facilitate any kind of domestic manufacturing capacity building. So that's the big problem here. He's not doing anything with the tariffs. He's viewing it instead as a flat tax, essentially a tax on everyone in America that, again, allows him to shift the tax burden from the wealthiest people in the country onto all of us, so that everyone is paying more in taxes, but that disproportionately hurts poorer people who are
Back
lower
when
income.
The tariffs were at their peak, my job was trying to find a supplier for some relays we're always low on, and the best deal we were able to find were $60 for 2 of them. We need 100 plus a week.
Jesus. Yeah, and so the way that Donald Trump was doing tariffs literally shut down an astronomical number of businesses. Predominantly small businesses, you know? Also, Not Smart, thank you for the $5 dono. Appreciated. Thank you so much.
Please.
Octopi, thank you for the 100
The
biddies.
122 tariffs, that 10%.
Yeah.
Is that going to be for 150 days, or do you want to charge that indefinitely?
We have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to... Look, the man I met with yesterday who owned a factory...
Factory workers don't benefit at all from this. Just like, how do those factory workers feel? It's just another Tuesday. Like, that's all they're doing, you know?
He was out of business. He was out of business. And now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great...
What was that noise just now? I think it came from Twitch, not sure.
Big, beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers of the... Much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock.
To make a few trinkets.
A month ago, I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford. And we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this planned. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country.
Yes, and he's the one responsible for that with all of his tariffs. Tariffs lowered the crime.
The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled.
Do you think when he's talking about tariffs in this context, he's imagining tariffs as like little superheroes? Like in his world, like tariffs like jump in front of like a speeding bullet and stop it in its tracks, reducing the crime?
With Trump. So whether we charge IEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can lever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent.
Yeah, we'll get rid of the national debt. Yeah, 100%. We're gonna pay down that national debt any day now. Which is why I gave a $1 trillion tax break to the wealthiest people in the country.
You can't murder somebody if the tariffs keep you from buying bullets or knives.
Damn.
Think about it.
Damn. Okay, that is next level reasoning, not smart. That is next level reasoning. Well, well played. Well played. It's a foolproof argument. Thank you for the $5 dono.
Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country, and we don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland. We were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit.
Why would we want tariffs on Switzerland? Why would we want that?
And the prime minister called me up. She said, "But we are a small country," because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing.
Why would we spend 40% more to import things from Switzerland? Why would you do that?
That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now they're considered.
No, it just would have made everyone in America who relies on products or equipment manufactured in Switzerland practically unable to get it. It's just a punishment and a tax on the American people.
Elite.
Yeah, we must protect the domestic hot chocolate and watch industry. Yeah.
But if we put a tariff, they would. And I realized then, she said, "But sir, we are a small country." I said, "You're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, or a lot of these elite..."
Yeah, because we buy more than we sell. We have a service economy that consumes. God damn
countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well. But I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question. I think it's reasonable.
President Trump, you said that.
Yes, he thinks that a trade deficit where the United States buys more than it sells to a given country is bad. He still doesn't know that that is good.
You were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you...
I was surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to, I read the paragraphs, I read very well, great comprehension.
So folks, I have an English degree. I don't constantly talk about how, in the span of one conversation in front of press, I don't talk about how like, oh man, I'm just so good at reading. I can really look at a number of letters and turn them into words and then string those words together to form sentences. I can really, read a document. It's doubly weird for him to bring it up twice in one press conference, because it makes me think that he genuinely doesn't know how to read.
I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. Maybe
I read everything there is to read. I read all of the papers. I read them all. That's what I was doing with my time.
I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out, because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term.
It was me. I built it. You know Rosie the Riveter? That was me. In my younger days, I was Rosie the Riveter. I built our military.
We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, you know, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to make, our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well. And we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word...
Ya girl just at work up from a nap. Haven't had enough though, say in a go minutes. Love you all, hope stream has been good so far. Sparkling heart emoji.
Let's see, I hope your nap was sublime. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Lily Loves Stuff, thank you for the $5
Who's better
dono.
at reading Trump or Leah Michelle?
Certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, you know. I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so. But you're no longer going to be asked, every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically...
Unlike before, now I can do tariffs. This man is so insane. He really has no business being in any kind of like, he shouldn't be in charge of his own affairs, you know? Like, he should be in the home, like, where he can pull a cord and, like, some like nurses' aides can come and check and see if he's okay. You know, like, he's not all right.
They said we can do these. We have alternatives. Yeah.
Hey, Paladin.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs, do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Well, some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited. Barely. Barely.
They're barely invited. I don't even care if they come. Just like that bitch, Jessica. I don't even care if she comes to my party. She's barely invited. You saw how she looked at Mark last time. That big man who wants to smooch me. She's barely invited. Just so I can smooch Mark in front of her. God, he's like a middle school girl. It's crazy. It's wild. Like bigoted son, like bigoted father. And no kidding, you know? It's very funny, but it's also so incredibly dangerous. Like, he's genuinely unstable, and it's, you know, I have to laugh or I'll cry, because it's such a stain on our country, you know? So folks, our one way out of this is if we win the midterms. And all that being said, we need to get organized. So I'm imploring you all, once again, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. Go and get involved, all right? Go to the meetings. Show up. You can often show up to them digitally. Show up at the meetings. Participate. Become known. Build up your, rapport with other folks. Push them farther left. We need to radicalize our Dems to more progressive policies and stop more Hakeem Jeffries from coming up in the party, more Chuck Schumers from coming up in the party. We need you guys to get organized. And we need you guys to get organized in the Dems and in your local DSA. If all of us get involved in our DSA, we can, in fact, make our DSAs as effective as the New York City DSA. We need to have an alliance between our political movement and labor. It is deeply, deeply important. So, folks, if you need help getting involved, we are very lucky in this community to have several people who are willing to help you get involved, all right? Wherever you are in America. So, join our Discord, reach out to GamerG for help joining your local DSA, and reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems. Okay, they are very gracious with their time, and we are building a coalition of folks to organize our communities. All right, we need more of you, though. It is not a boulder that gets up that hill unless we all start pushing. Okay, and all that being said, if you got anything out of this, leave a like. Comment, let me know what you think about this soup-brained moron down in the comments. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Subscribe button. I need to enunciate. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfy for all folks, regardless of your presentation. Check it out. It's non-tucking lingerie, and a lot of people really love it. I'm wearing it right now. It's super comfortable. Best bralette I own, hands down. Most comfortable panty I own, hands down. And folks, check it out. ImogeneOlivia.com. And new styles, sizes, and colors are coming in the near future. So get on it, folks, and the link should be down in the doobly-doo. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's